The Pixel 7a is one of Cnet's favorite budget smartphones. It has the same processor as the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro and a great camera, all for less than $500. But 3 months later, is it still a good pick? The answer isn't so simple. Yes, everything we liked about the Pixel 7a when we reviewed it is still true. But with the Pixel 8 likely right around the corner and the Pixel 7 seeing deep discounts, there are some good reasons to think twice. But first, let's take a look at my impressions. I just revisited the Pixel 7a 3 months after reviewing it, and here are my thoughts. First, using the Pixel 7a again made me remember how much I really like its size. It has a 6.1-inch screen, which is smaller than the Pixel 7's, and therefore makes it easier to manage with one hand. The other nice thing about having a smaller phone, it actually kind of fits in my pocket. With larger phones, it's a bit harder to really get it to fit completely. It also has a really great 64-megapixel main camera that is technically a bit different than the Pixel 7's. For example, Google says that the Pixel 7's camera has a bigger sensor that's more sensitive to light, but in my experience, photos were very similar between the two phones. If you really want a phone just for taking photos of family, friends, vacations, pets, that kind of a thing, the Pixel 7 or the Pixel 7a will be just fine. You're not really missing out on much by going for Google's smaller phone. Another thing I appreciated when returning to the Pixel 7a is how Google updates its software over time. Now, this isn't specific to the 7a. Google releases updates for multiple Pixel devices, but it is a reminder of what you'll get with a Pixel phone compared to a different Android phone. Google released an update for the Pixel lineup shortly after the Pixel 7a came out. That update brought some more emergency and safety features, as well as some new wallpapers and other updates. One feature I've been playing around with is the new cinematic wallpaper, which applies a 3D-like effect to your 2D photos that makes the subject stand out from the foreground a bit more. This was a lot of fun to play around with, but I do have to say, there are times when Google cropped in on the photo a little bit more than it should have, which resulted in an image that looked a bit too awkward to have as your background wallpaper. But still, it was fun to play around with, and it's a great example of how Google continues to update its Pixel phones with new features over time. Now for the downsides. Even though I like the size of the Pixel 7a's screen, it's just not bright enough to see outdoors without cranking the brightness all the way up. So right now, I have the brightness about halfway and I can barely see the screen. It's not until I really turn it all the way up that I can actually see the display clearly. And also, battery life on the Pixel 7a is just okay. It's long enough to get me through a full day without worrying, but I did notice that battery life in my testing was almost on par with the Galaxy S23 lineup. Now, on one hand, that is impressive considering Samsung's phones are a lot more expensive than the Pixel 7a, but you also have to remember that Samsung's devices have brighter screens with higher refresh rates. But the biggest downside to buying the Pixel 7a right now comes down to timing. Google just heavily discounted the Pixel 7, bringing its price down to about the same as the Pixel 7a. And the Pixel 7 has a bigger screen, faster wireless charging, and some extra features like reverse wireless charging, which lets you charge other devices on the back of the phone, and the Action Pan camera mode. That said, there are still some reasons to consider the Pixel 7a, even though it's around the same price as the Pixel 7 right now. For one, those who prefer smaller phones might still want the 7a instead. And also, since the 7a is newer, you should get Android version updates for slightly longer than the Pixel 7. It's also important to remember that the Pixel 8 might be coming out soon, since Google usually releases new Pixel phones in October. If you're not in a rush and can afford to wait, you might want to see what the Pixel 8 has in store. Of course, we won't know until Google announces the phone, but based on years past, we can probably expect to see a new Tensor processor and some camera improvements. But it's also important to remember that if you wait too long, you might miss buying the Pixel 7 at its current discounted price. So what do you think of the Pixel 7a? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to keep following Cnet for more Pixel coverage. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.